feeling like a movie. But sorry, I ain't call you back, I'm on my Call of Duty. Brand new lifestyle, brand new friends, brand new scholarship, a brand new win.
Hello, my name is Sekou Roland, and thank you for joining us. We are going to be talking about from players to founders and why Scholastic Esports is just getting started. I'm joined by Ryan, Divan, and Karlin. Please introduce yourselves, Ryan.
Hey Sekou, happy to be here. My name is Ryan, the founder of Eval, and I'm also a student athlete at Princeton. I play esports and I manage the team here, and I'm really happy to be here and talk more about my experience.
Karlin.
Yeah, Sekou, Ryan, thank you guys for inviting me. I'm Karlin, I'm the founder of Ikuzo. Essentially what we do is we're trying to solve screen time through video games, but my personal mission is to give back to my younger self. Without sharing too much, I was a collegiate esports player, I won $80,000 in esports scholarships, placed top 8 in the nation for collegiate League of Legends, and that experience defined who I was. I was a kid with really severe social anxiety, I didn't connect with people, and I didn't see the purpose of education, school, passion, or whatever. Gaming gave that to me, and I want to give that to kids in the future.
Let's kind of ground people in what this world is of collegiate esports.
Essentially, collegiate esports is analogous to college sports in some sense, but you're playing esports and competing against other schools, the best of the best, in your division or some other organizational structure. So yeah, essentially just like any other sport that you can think of, but instead of playing a traditional sport, you're playing esports. And there are a whole lot of games too. There are some very popular ones like Valorant, Rocket League, League of Legends, and some schools even go for more niche ones. So there's a lot of flexibility in how the space is being defined, but that's the gist of it.
Anything to add, Karlin? You think that's a pretty good synopsis?
Yeah, I think for me, it's passionate nerds who love video games, who want to be on a team and compete against other teams. And it takes shape sometimes in person, sometimes it's online, sometimes it's in different leagues, sometimes it's just a club of people who play the same game, who like come to college campus on a computer lab and they just kick each other's butt, right? And have fun competing and strategizing and learning. So it's growing, but it's fragmented, yeah, which we'll get into.
You talk about the ecosystem being fractured. Is it happening at the college level, the high school level?
I think at all parts. Frankly, at all parts. The one thing that's consistent is there's a kid in front of a screen, or a young adult in front of a screen. That is consistent, but how we interact with said screen, how we teach, and how we address, and how we think about that time spent in front of the screen, whether it's the game, whether it's the mentorship, the structure, or even the competition, varies. And I think we're all looking for some sort of unity and governing structure and like system that we can subscribe to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we say the term e-sport, what do you classify esports as a sport?
Yeah, I would say so.
And what do you think makes something a sport?
I think if you look at the Google definition, it's something along the lines of organized, competitive, physical exertion or effort. And while the weakest argument is definitely on the physical exertion, if you look at a football team, and if you break down the fundamental principles of what makes a football team, it's very similar. I mean, you can make a corollary to every single aspect, aside from maybe the sweat, right? And ultimately, that's not what some kids want to do. Is it important? Absolutely. Do we think esports players should exercise and get sweaty and absolutely. But everything else, the grit, the perseverance, the expression, the creativity, the discipline, the teamwork, the skills required to be a fantastic basketball player, football player, soccer player, it's one to one, right?
You brought up the similarities between esports and a traditional sport like football. I played football in college, so I'm very familiar with that. So how do you prepare for, say, an esports match? Is it the same thing as like a football game? Are you listening to a certain song? Like, what are you doing?
You know, the day-to-day, the minuscule, the moments that don't feel important, like that's who shows up on the stage, and that's how you best prepare. It's not this like, you know, you listen to a song and you're like, all right, I'm ready for the game. I'm ready to like play this finals match for the tournament or for the trophy. It's like who you are day to day, and that's who shows up in the moments, like Kobe, the mama mentality. So in terms of my routine, I learned later that like potassium and bananas are supposed to help with your brain and performance and all those things. I don't understand the science myself, obviously, but like if football players do it, then I should probably do it. They say that physical exercise and keeping your body healthy, you know, helps your brain work better. And so I did that. They say that focusing on drills and doing things slowly, intentionally, like the way you learn music, the way you learn a song on piano, you play it slowly, you practice it intentionally, you break it down, and then you can play it quickly later, right? And so just taking over different elements that exist in traditional sports and in music, in any art, performance, it's the same in gaming. You just bring over the same principles.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. There are a lot of parallels here. In high school, I was an esports athlete, but I was also a fencer. So I got to see these two dynamics interacting at the same time. And yeah, a lot of it is just consistency. Being able to, as Karlin said, be the same person you are in practice in the actual match itself, right? Like if you play a video game, playing a ranked match is a lot different than playing a game where there are more actual stakes, right? More than just your elo. Like then you have a team, you have a championship that you want to win, you have a trophy you want to lift, right? And the key is being able to be your best self and not fall under the pressure, right? And there are so many things that are involved here, right? Being healthy is important. Working out is important because you need to have a healthy mind for these video games, right? A lot of snap-second decisions and being able to make the right calls. And a lot of that is really relevant when it comes to keeping yourself healthy. And we also do a lot of things like you have to learn from the games that you play, right? Doing VOD reviews and a lot of things like this. Just like how in a traditional sport, you look back at your past games. When you do esports, it's not just, you don't just keep going next and go until you start ranking up and winning, right? At some point, you have to take a step back, see what you're doing, see how you can improve. And that really is what separates just gaming from being an esports athlete, right? Being someone who is dedicated to not just playing, but competing and competing at the highest level.
Like the way the games are designed, they're designed to get you to engage and to get those dopamine hits and to queue up again. But they're not necessarily designed for you to reflect, oh, what could I have done better? How did it go? How can I change, what I'm doing? What are the variables? How can I improve? How can I experiment and limit test certain things? What can I try? What isn't working? Like those are questions that you don't naturally ask. And so having a coach and having a team and a structure, that's where the magic happens. And that's why we need to stop telling kids that gaming is a waste of time, because it can be, certainly. But it can also be much more. And that's why we're all here, because we've seen the much more.
So I think we got a little bit of kind of why you both started your companies, and I'm curious a little bit more of even like why you've kept going, because I think that's something that a lot of founders have faced when they're building a company. Is you may do something for even a year, or you may do something for 6 months, and at a certain point you're like, okay, this isn't working. Like, this isn't making me money. This is wasting my time. I'm exhausted. It's time for me to figure out, like, I need to go get a day job. Like, what is the reason why you guys have chosen to continue to battle in an industry that is difficult to navigate?
Yeah, I've wanted to quit many times, frankly. It's hard. Like, imagine having something that you're passionate, that you believe in, and the world tells you that everything that they gaslight you into thinking that everything that you believe in is the opposite. Something that has changed your life has no value, and in fact has negative value on other people, simply because they misunderstand it. And that's a battle that you have to fight over and over and over. So the last thing is, like, you guys know AoE, like the AoE healing, Dr. K, that kind of is a natural consequence of that. Like, you realize it's not even just about the kid. It's about the coach, the mentor, who's 20 years old, who also is being seen in their own way as the first time in their life, they're not just a nerd, they're like a mentor who's looked up to, who's sharing their passion with their younger self. And then the parents too. Something that we're seeing too is parents more and more so are gamers. Like they've played WoW and they grew up with games and they're like, you know what, I can appreciate it. And you know what, gaming can be more if we give it the opportunity to. It's so much more than just the kid, even though it's all about the kid. And the world will see that. It just takes time. So yeah, that's what keeps it going.
And before we get to Ryan, I think you touched on something that I think that is really important that people have, for whatever reason, decided to ignore or haven't even realized is the fact that in reality, the majority of people are gamers now. Yep. It's no longer the majority telling people that gaming is bad. That's the minority of people. The minority of people think gaming is a bad thing. And that number is only going to get smaller and smaller as we progress as a digital society. And I think it's important to understand that we're preparing for the next generation and not for the one that's currently here. We're preparing for everyone. And I think that's something that you understand. And I even like the way you described the AOE healing kind of idea of healing everybody at once. Like that's something I've never thought about before, but like it truly does affect your inner child when you're able to help somebody through what you're passionate about and in a way that you wish you had when you were a kid. So that's super cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, for what keeps me going, I think it's twofold. I think I resonate with a lot of things that Karlin has said, but I think the crux of it for me is just being able to see people recognize and benefit from something that I love so much, right? Playing esports, competing, forming that community and those bonds with other people who play. I think that's really valuable, and being able to make more people recognize the value in that is really, really important to me. And that's one of the big things that's kept me going. And the other thing has been really seeing the impact that our work has had on students. Right? For example, in this past year, we run an Eval cohort, and we were able to interact with them almost every week for the full academic year, talk to them about how they can use esports to get into college, learn about their passions, learn about what they really want to get out of it. And seeing those students grow through their interaction with Eval and ultimately get into really good esports programs, get recruited, get on pro-am teams, get scholarships, like this was really, really inspiring. And I think that's the kind of thing that keeps me going, even though things can get hard, right? Building a company has a lot of ups and downs, but seeing the people benefiting from the work that we're doing, I think that's the greatest reward of all, man.
100%. I think one of the biggest things that even has just, like Ryan said, running a company is hard. Like Karlin has said, you want to quit. Like there are trials and tribulations you never would have expected. But I think, again, the most rewarding thing for all of us, it seems, is being able to provide opportunities for other people. Like, I think the biggest thing for me was, like, when we started Eval in the first place was, like, I was trying to help my younger brother get into college. And he loved video games, and there were opportunities to do that. But there really, really wasn't a pipeline or a path for him to follow. So that's why we built it. And now that we know that we've been able to help other kids follow this pathway, is so exciting to me because it feels like it's just the beginning. And I remember what it felt like to get recognized for my talents and my abilities and be able to go to a school for it and to be celebrated for it. And the fact that we can do it for gamers and so many people across the world allows me to know that like what we're doing means something because it can allow someone to change their whole trajectory of their life. Because when I first started playing football, like I wasn't like, yo, I'm getting ready to go to Princeton, like let's train more. No, I was like, I want to go to football so I can go like take someone's head off. Like I love this. Like that was why I woke up every day and trained and all these different things because I really enjoyed what I did. And the fact that we're able to do that for other people, to be able to go through their lives enjoying what they do, is such a good feeling for me. And I think that's why I think that what we're doing means something, and it's the other people who are telling us rather than us saying that it matters. And that's what I think is the best part. When talking about like what it actually takes to be like a competitive esports player at the collegiate level, could you guys kind of just describe what that experience looks like? Like from, I don't know, the preparation to the day of the game to everything else that comes with it. I know that Karlin spoke to it a little bit, but I would just like you to take me through what your week looks like and then maybe a game day.
There's usually 5 to 6 players on a team, depending on the game that you play. Obviously, there's more individual sports or individual esports like Super Smash Bros. But typically, you work with a team manager who organizes your practices, and it's just like a scrimmage on the football field, but digital. So there are different ways of finding those scrims, but those scrimmages are basically other universities with essentially your counterpart. So you might be at the University of Texas with 5 players, and then your team manager will match you with University of California, Irvine, who also have 5 players, and you guys play at a time that you're available. So it might be, usually it's evening hours, like 7 to 9 p.m., and a scrim block is basically just a set of games, like it's a best of 3. It's not like football, gaming, you're not limited to your physical body. And a scrim block is usually 3 games. It's a best of 3. You track your score, you understand the data, and then after the block, you go into VOD review. So you just you sit with your team, you watch it's like film in a basketball game. Understand what happened, break down the different phases of the game, identify where you're weakest, where you're strongest, what you have to work on, what you don't. And then sometimes on the weekends, this is not something a lot of esports teams do, but certainly something esports teams need to do more often, which is like team bonding, right? Even just a team dinner and understanding. And this is, I think this is what separated our team from other teams, because on paper, our roster that year was not spectacular. ESPN, that was when ESPN started to get more and more involved in esports, and they did this power ranking thing, and we weren't like anywhere at the top. But I think what separated us was like, I kind of was the team manager, team captain, or whatever you want to call it. And I just made an effort, like, let's get dinner once a week. I want to understand who you guys are as people. I want to understand what motivates you. I want to understand who cares in your life. I want to understand if your parents support you, if they even know that you're competing. A lot of times they don't, and it's such a shame. And like, I want to know who's cheering you on, so that when we get there, when we make it, when we're on the field, like, we're fighting for more than just ourselves. We're fighting for us and everything that means something to us.
Ryan, as well, as you are in a unique position, Ryan, you went to your high school and you helped be a part of the founding team of creating your esports program, and then you came to Princeton and you did it again. So I'm curious, kind of like, what that process has been like at the high school level till today. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, at the high school level, I think the esports scene definitely seems a lot more fragmented than the collegiate level, but I think one advantage there is that things are very often student run, and they're run out of this passion. Right? At my school, it started during my freshman year. I was just 14 years old, playing some video games during COVID, and I found out that there are a lot of other people who are doing the same thing, right? Playing games during Zoom class when you weren't supposed to, or like there wasn't much else to do, right? I mean, going outside was tough, so just a lot of video games and a lot of people that I was able to bond over with that. And from that, the natural thing arose of, hey, let's make it into a club. Let's meet up more often to talk about stuff like this, to game. But anyway, my high school esports team, we started with just a few kids, and once we got back in person, the popularity exploded, right? Because I think a lot of the kids at my school, for some context, it was a very athletics-focused school. I'd say, I think we had statistic about this, but more than half of students were in some sort of varsity sport. So it was a lot of kids doing a lot of different sports. But for most of them, esports never really seemed like an option, right? Like, for a lot of these people, it just been instilled within them, myself included, that why go on the computer and play games when instead you could study or you could play a quote-unquote real sport, right? So a lot of these kids didn't realize this was an option, and us showing them like, hey, we're going to play some games against schools, right? In our first year, we played maybe 2 matches, but that was enough for people to tune in on Twitch, get really excited about what was happening, and be like, whoa, this is something that's legit, right? They're not just playing ranked and calling it competition. They're actually doing something. these are the same kids that we see on the football field, on the basketball court, right? These same schools. And now we're beating them in esports too, right? And that gets people really, really excited, right? Really, really happy. And that kind of starts legitimizing it. And at the high school level, the way that we were able to legitimize it at my school was to start winning, right? I think just as you said, Karlin, or that's when UT Dallas started recognizing esports when you guys made that top 8. For us, it was when we started winning tournaments at the state level, a few at the national level, and just really showing our school and honestly just everyone who was watching that we can turn this into something serious. This is actually, I think this is the way that my school's esports program won our first state championship, which was in Valorant. This was a year after I graduated, so unfortunately I wasn't there for it. I was at the tournament, I saw them succeed. I was really happy. I think it felt like the fruition of everything that I had worked for. But the really important thing was, on paper, they weren't the best team. There were teams who had what's the highest rank? Radiance on their team. They had a lot of Radiance Immortals, all the best players in the state. And our team, while we did have a few of those guys, it wasn't everyone. And on paper, I think Garden State Esports League we compete in, they have a not quite power ranking, but they just choose some teams of interest. And my school's team was the dark horse, right? They didn't think that we had the strength to win on paper, but they've seen some promising flashes from us before, and they thought that, hey, we could be the team that maybe we can win it on a good day.
Honorable mention.
But yeah, exactly, right? So I think it feels nice to be mentioned, but also that adds a little bit of fire too, right? Oh, they think we're good enough to mention, but not good enough to win it all.
Yeah.
Right. So that was something that when I spoke to some of the players, right, that really lit that fire inside of them. But the main thing is that group of guys, that squad of 5 plus the subs, who ended up being around 8 people in total, they were really good friends. Then that friendship, that camaraderie, that understanding of their motivations and their drives, both in game and outside of it, really helped them in pushing each other, right? They would scrim even when they didn't have to. They would put in hours to practice together, even beyond what our team needed from them, right? And their communication was just top tier. And things like this were exactly what led them to an almost perfect sweep of the bracket. I think they won the finals 2-1. They went down the first game and then demolished them in the last two. They was the reigning champs for 2 or 3 years in a row.
Nice.
But yeah, that really just impressed upon me how important it is to have those avenues of communication, that willingness to review and to learn, and that really resonates with things that I've seen in traditional sports. And bringing these lessons to college and building up the team at Princeton, there's been a lot of these elements which I've tried to bring in, trying to get to know people who compete on our team. We've competed in Smash for the past year, and while we're not the best, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of dedication to the people who compete, and everyone just goes out there, does their best, and I think there's so much value that you get from esports at the high school and collegiate level. I think honestly at any level, these even though the structure around it might be different, just the way that you learn these lessons and ultimately just the connections you form, the skills that you learn, these are just so important. I think that's really what I want to impress upon anyone who's listening. The skills and the connections and the drive that you get from esports is so important, even more important than just the organizational structure, or honestly to me even more important than winning. For some people that might seem insane, but honestly, for most sports, most people stop playing eventually, right? Even LeBron is going to retire one day. He's 42 years old or something like that. He's still playing basketball, but there's always something that comes after. And I think esports and sports in general just help so much with developing you to be not only a better athlete, but someone who can communicate, someone who's a better person all around. And especially if you're a student, I think it helps you become a better student as well.
I want to touch on the structure part a little bit. I totally agree on the outcomes perspective. That can be the outcome of a better student, a better person, a better professional, a better teammate. And I guess like if you break down the fundamental principles and they kind of compare that, esports to traditional sports, there's like individual practice, there's informal team practice, there's formal team practice, and then there's competition. And I think the biggest contrast from gaming and like from esports to traditional sports is there's a much larger emphasis on individual practice than there is in traditional sports, despite a lot of esports games being team games, simply because it's easier to find teammates. Whether you're queuing up online, it's more convenient. You can play from your dorm room. You don't all have to converge into a football field or a place with grass. You can literally just do it with your laptop in your bedroom. But there are a lot of challenges that we face, and I think a lot of that has to do with legitimacy. Football players, Sekou, I don't know if you're a Monday through Friday, but I know that my high school sports teams were something along the lines where it's like at least 4 times a week. It's after school. It's very consistent. It's predictable, and it's reliable. Like you just know that it's going to happen because from the principal to the kid and everything in between, including the parent, like that is the expectation. Everyone has a mutual understanding of its value, of its commitment, of its ask. And that's the level I want to get gaming to, so that we can stop relying too much on individual practice and informal team practice and start to get into more of the rhythm of formal team practice and competitions. Because even competitions are like both informal and formal, right?
I mean, 1,000,000,000%. I think even just to touch on what you just said, Karlin, but how can we get esports on the same, I guess, level of like recognition and support and community support as traditional sports? And I think it is two things. It's going to be like administrative like acceptance, which has happened. The schools are allowing esports to come into their halls. They're allowing programs to be built. There's $50 million in scholarships available, in college scholarships for esports players, and that's insane. And so that's there. The high schools have recognized esports being valuable. Colleges have recognized that esports are valuable. I think the biggest thing that you have talked about and what you guys have been focusing on is the experience. And I think that the only way that experience of making esports better when you're in high school, so that when Ryan's in high school again, like he's not only playing in 2 matches, or and that when you go to your national championship, everyone knows who you are. Like I think it's gonna take people like yourself, Karlin, who have gone to college and seen what it's like at that next level, who have experienced what it takes to be really, really good at something, coming back and giving back, because that's exactly what football gets. We have hundreds and hundreds of kids who've played at college levels and don't make it to the pros. And what they do, they go back and they coach or they become a trainer. And I think that the biggest thing that esports is just getting now, probably in the last maybe 3 years, is that effect of people coming back and feeding back into the ecosystem and supporting students so that their experience is better than the one that they had. And that's what's going to elevate it for everybody. And I think once we continue to allow this system to flush out all these people who don't truly understand what it takes to take esports on a serious level, you will see that it is literally the biggest sport in the world. And I'm so excited when that day comes.
There's like you said, there's 2 parts to it. One, money helps. Like everyone likes scholarships, everyone likes careers. That's something that we all can subscribe to because that affects the bottom line. But ironically enough, I don't think it's actually the answer. We need to change what it means to be a gamer. Like to be an athlete, right? To be a football player, yes, there's a certain prestige. But why is there prestige, right? Football players are confident. They look like Sekou. They're fit, they're confident, they're handsome, they're cool. You'd want your daughter to date them. Like they're like you see the value. Like when you see Princeton football player on a resume, you're like, oh shit, I gotta talk to this guy, right? Like I want this guy on my team because he knows how to work together. He knows to persevere when it's fucking hard. He knows what it means to respect authority and other people, and he's like been on the field. He gets that. And unfortunately, you can't say that about gamers. Not yet. Not yet, at least. Like, yes, some gamers you can. Certainly. But that's not what it means to be a gamer. Not yet. I came from a very, I guess, academic-focused family. My dad's a physician. I come from a family of doctors. And I was, like, failing through school. And my parents thought video games were the problem, right? They didn't think of it as just an escape. They thought of it as the escape and the reason why I wasn't doing the things I needed to do. And so eventually, obviously, I got pretty good and they started to take notice. School started to take notice. I started to get like scholarships and I came home with a check and I asked my mom because there was just one day she flipped. I was like sitting on the couch and I was watching. You guys watch Inception? Nolan? Yeah, Nolan. Yeah, so I was watching Inception, my favorite movie. Go watch The Odyssey, it's pretty cool too. But my mom like slapped me on the top of the head and I was sitting on the couch and she was like, "What are you doing watching this stupid movie? You should be gaming. You should be practicing. Like, why aren't you prepping? Like, why aren't you studying the game and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, oh shit, you're right. So then I go to my computer, I load and I queue up for the game and then I actually don't accept the game. I just start bawling. And I couldn't understand why I started crying, but eventually I realized my mom has finally seen me, my passion, and how this benefits me as a person. And so later, years later, I told her that story and I asked her if she remembered, and she said, "Of course I remember." And I asked her why. Why did you flip from pulling out the internet, like taking away the computer to like, hey, you need to be doing this more? Is it because of the money? I got kind of angry. I was like, is it because of the check? Is it because of the accolade? Is it because of all this stuff? And she's like, no, I didn't care about any of that. I cared about my son being a better human, a better communicator, like understanding his stubbornness and leveraging it as a strength, because that's the number one characteristic she would subscribe me to, like just being stubborn. And she's like, you have become so much of a better person, so much more of a whole person. I actually want to be around you. I want to engage with you. I want to support you. Gaming is the thing that changed you. It wasn't me. It was this gaming thing. And I think that it can help other kids.
I think you're right, and I think the truth is it's the narrative, and that's really what needs to be attacked and fleshed out and reimagined. And
identity too. I think like the kids have to believe in themselves, because like what it means to be an athlete, what it means to like represent Nike, what it means to be like LeBron and Kobe and like Mamba mentality. We don't have those narrative points as a gamer yet. We have like trolls online, and it's we need to change that.
It's a bunch of entertainers, and I think you realize that, and I think that we realize that, and the Eval cohort was our first attempt in trying to do that for kids that we knew who were bought in and were excited about it, and they were able to realize college scholarships. And I think the hope is that we can continue to do this cycle of helping kids and creating this cohort of the coolest kids in esports. Growing up, be honest, which game caused you to break the most amount of hardware?
I never broke anything, but I broke people's hearts. Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty 2, Rust, 360 no scope, intervention. Yeah, that was my shit. Oh
my god. Yeah, for me, I'd say honestly Rocket League. I feel like I've broken like 2 controllers.
Even you,
also,
Ryan? You're so chill though.
All a facade.
It's a different side of me. It's a different side of me.
As competitive gamers, do you guys do stretches to warm up for matches?
Oh yeah. A lot of League players have wrist problems, like I guess just like RSI or whatever, repetitive strain injury, and so I guess like I started competing in an era where they started bringing in more PTs, like physical therapists, and I would just watch pro players and I would just observe, because they didn't release this publicly typically, but I would just observe what they did in their like behind the scenes footage, and then what they would do on stage. And so they'd do a lot of like this, a lot of this, and then like I have it over here, one sec. It's like a flex bar or whatever. I definitely highly recommend if like you're a gamer and you use your wrists. It's less relevant for controller players, but like mouse and keyboard, like these help tremendously.
And how do you just roll it on the table? How does that work?
Yeah, you just apply pressure on the table, and then just like this is a part of esports that needs to be researched more, for sure. But I know that it helps me release a lot of tension. But I've never had any injury. I know that a lot of pro players have. Some of my teammates do too.
I think that's one thing that I feel like is a reason why I loved doing competitive football, was the fact that I saw the changes happening to my own body, and like I was taking the time to like make sure my nutrition was right. I was making sure that I was lifting regularly. And then I was able to not only see these changes when I'm playing football, but when I'm walking around, you're like, oh wow, like this kid works out. I'm seeing these and I think that benefit of when it starts to affect other aspects of your life is when people truly do take it seriously. And I think that's something little leak here. We won't. I mean, this isn't live, but we are in the process of trying to figure out how to support students, at least on a nutritional level. Because I think one of the things that we do understand is that if you're going to be a competitor, if you're going to take things seriously, you got to do it in all aspects. You can't just do one. And I think that nutrition is literally the step one in everything. Whether you're doing well in school, doing well in your sport, doing well in your relationship, having a well-fueled body really will allow you to do so much more, whether it's physically or mentally in processing information. So it's I think that truly is a very big step in competitive esports that needs to be changed, is nutrition. What is the biggest stereotype about gamers that is actually true?
I think, unfortunately, and this isn't always true, but stereotypes aren't always true. If you go to a gaming tournament or a convention, it doesn't smell. You know,
yeah,
that is one thing for sure. For sure. As much as I don't like to admit it.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, yeah, Seiko and I have been to your fair share of events. And
yeah,
there's always a musk in the air.
Listen, I'm telling you, if Old Spice wants to sponsor anybody, it's esports. Hook us up.
Actually.
Oh, absolutely.
We would love it. Come get us. We need it. We're in need.
What's your opinion? What do you have a stereotype?
Me,
you have also a perspective too, right?
No, for sure. I mean, you guys already hit the first one. I mean, that wasn't even I didn't even want to believe that one. I thought that one was made up, and then when I got there, and I was damn. When I walked past the sign to enter into an arena event, and it says must shower before coming. I thought that I really thought it was an inside joke meme thing, but they're being for real. It's true, and I'm bro. What is the esports equivalent of getting pancaked by a 300-pound lineman? So, in football, what that means is when an O lineman grabs you, throws you on the ground, and then lays on top of you.
Just humbled.
So, what is the equivalent of that happening in esports?
When we went to that national competition thing, when we flew out to LA and all that, we played against a team, and one of their players, he was their top laner, he had one hand, and we lost badly. And in some ways, it was very humbling because everyone, everyone online is mean. No, or not everyone, but there's a lot of people that are mean. They were making fun of him, and he's oh, and he got one hand and all this nonsense, right? But gaming's sort of that equalizer, and I don't want to change the topic, but that was a huge humbling moment for us as a team. We're dude, not only does he have one hand, but he was playing one of the most mechanically intensive characters in the entire game, and he just styled on us.
PC or console?
PC.
PC.
Wait, do you think that console players are based on if you use a controller or what system you're running on?
It's definitely the system. There are a lot of games that you can play on PC that you shouldn't play on keyboard. If you're playing a racing game, if you're playing on keyboard, you're just disadvantaging yourself.
So, keyboard or controller then?
Oh,
keyboard.
It depends.
I think for most games, keyboard, but yeah, for certain games.
For most games, yeah. But I think there are a few games where controller is just so much better. I play keyboard most games, but some games controller is just almost feels like an advantage.
It is, yeah, because also in FPS games, there's aim assist and there's just different ways that they give advantage, and I think that is enough to show you that in my opinion, the clear, most pure form of skill expression is on mouse and keyboard because there's no limit to how you can move or express yourself. Yeah.
Siege has no aim assist on console, by the way.
Really?
Oh, that's crazy.
How do you even play it?
What do you mean? Because we're ballers. Because we're console people are talented too.
Okay, that's legit.
We're gamers too, by the way. I know.
It's Halo. There's aim assist. Call of Duty. There's aim assist.
I know. Siege, nothing. Favorite game ever?
Man, that's hard. That's hard. Can you guys go first? Because I have like different games that
Yeah.
different reasons behind different games.
Favorite game for playing with my little brother was Little Big Planet. Favorite game to play by myself was Siege. And that's really it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And the favorite game to play, like in secret, was Hearthstone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for me, I just have to say Rocket League. I feel like I haven't gotten another experience like it.
What about Rocket League in like one sentence?
I just feel like it's so interesting because it's physics based, but it's done like really well. I think most physics based games are like they can almost feel like gimmicks in a sense. But I think Rocket League is just like nicely balanced for an esport, and I think it's a very unique game.
For me, I think the game that's influenced me and impacted me the most is definitely League. But the game that I've had the most fun in is PUBG. The game that I have the most childhood memories with is either MW2 or MapleStory. I don't know if you guys know what MapleStory
Oh
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
You guys do?
Yeah.
Really?
yeah.
Most people don't. Like old school MapleStory, not this new stuff.
What is the coolest gaming community? Like, if you had to be a part of one gaming community for the rest of your time playing video games, and you could only hang out and be in lobbies and play with them, who would it be?
I feel like for me, I feel like this might be some recency bias, but I feel like sim racing just seems really cool. Like you get like a whole like wheel and like an awesome setup and everything, and you just get to like talk about cars. And I think there's like so much. There are a lot of dimensions to it, right? There's the competition, but there's also like the cars, and I feel like I just feel like it's really cool, and I think it's also something that easily translates to doing things in real life, as in like driving a real car, doing stuff like that.
So I want to say the entire League community, but I can't because honestly, sometimes it can be insufferable. I would say the League community that we've created, right, where everyone knows what we're trying to do, everyone's like fighting for it, everyone believes in it, and everyone holds each other to that standard. Everyone's on board, and it's kind of like a subculture in its own, and we're trying to grow that. But I think it's like what it could be. I also want to shout out to my high school days because we didn't have any formal high school esports of any kind. Collegiate esports was like still being formed, and so my friends and I would organize tournaments. I kind of told you guys the story a little bit before, but we were going to organize tournament. We would organize tournaments with local high schools. We would compete in it, and we would play in it, and we would win. And maybe not. There was a prize like an admission fee, but that was probably my fondest memories in my childhood. Period.
What was your biggest rage moment in competitive esports?
Ooh. For me, so I competed over 3 years. My first year, our roster was insane. We had like ESPN did the power ranking thing, and we were projected to get top 8 or somewhere close to there. And like we didn't place, and we crumbled. Like we just didn't work well as a team. And yeah, I questioned everything, failed a couple classes. That was tough for me. I didn't break anything, but I was like, I was bedridden for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, I feel like in like organized esports, I haven't really had such an experience. I think playing games on my own, I feel like this is a lot more rage-inducing. But I think
Dark Souls?
oh my god. Yeah, honestly, maybe that's it. I had to beat like the tutorial boss in Dark Souls 3. I had to get my friend to come over to my house.
The tutorial?
Yeah, because the tutorial boss in Dark Souls 3 is like harder than most of like several of the following bosses. So
Oh,
he had
really?
to come over to my house, beat it for me, and I was able to play out the rest of the game, like a good chunk of the rest of the game, which is just like crazy. Like now I can beat that boss, but like I think that was the few sleepless nights.
Okay, and then for our final question, if you could partner with any large creator or gaming company in the space right now, who would it be?
I might change my answer, but right now the name that feels right is probably Ludwig. I don't subscribe to a lot of creators. I don't believe in a lot of creators, but he's one of the few that I think is grounded, most importantly, pretty transparent and genuine with his audience and his goals. He also plays League. His girlfriend plays League, and they've been involved. They own a team, or are partial owners in the Pro League. So I would say probably Ludwig. Actually, wait, Eval.
Well, Eval was in this. We assume that besides
Yeah,
Eval, besides Eval.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. I think from just the context of esports for creator, I'd probably say like Disguise Toast. I feel like I've been following some of his journey with like DSG, his esports org, and like while they're no longer operating, I think it's really admirable. The same reason why like with Moist Esport, what are they now? The Shopify. I think they got absorbed into Shopify. Yeah, but like the same reason like they were originally Moist Esports with Moist Critical, and I feel like it's just really great to see creators who want to help people achieve their dreams, right? Like I think the commonality between Toast and Moist Critical is that they really want these players to have like an opportunity to succeed. And I think that's exactly the type of people who I want to work with and see the scene grow alongside.
I'm gonna piggyback off my boy Ryan's. Disguised Toast is been the man for a long time, especially because he plays Hearthstone.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why I've always been a big fan of him and the stuff that he's done. And I think he would be super awesome because I think he does care about the space a lot. And he plays Hearthstone, so I feel like he's a cool person. Now that we're wrapping up, and I really do appreciate you for joining us, Karlin, and Ryan as well, tuning in from California. Is there anything else you wanted to share with our audience before you guys get off the show?
I think where things start, like the genesis point almost, is what really do games do and how do they impact our lives? I think just taking a second to introspect, because that's where I see the most light bulbs turn on, eyes open, whatever, nirvana, reaching nirvana. Like if you ask yourself, what does it really require? What does it teach you? What makes games hard? That's where everything happens. So that's where it starts. So I would just ask anyone who's watching, what games do you play? If you're a parent, ask your kid, if you don't already know, because a lot of parents actually don't know. What games do your kid play, and why do they play it? Right? Like that is the awesome starting point. For kids, like what games do I play and why do I play it? For teachers and admins, if you see your kids playing a certain game, they're not just playing Roblox, they're probably playing a certain type of game within Roblox. And it's best that you understand it and that you help them through it, because sometimes it is complete brain rot, and sometimes it is, speaks more to their personality, and sometimes you need to course correct, and sometimes you don't. Like sometimes you just need to invest into it and support it. So anyways, ask what games they play and why.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And then on the student side or the player side, I would really implore you to think about why you play the games that you play, right? I think for many people the answer might be just to have fun, right? And that's a completely valid answer. And if you have fun playing games and keep doing it, that's great. But I think if you think about that for a little longer and find that there's something more to games than just having fun, right? You like the competition, you like the people, and you like a lot of things like that, like the whole process, right? I think being able to understand why you play can really help you in honestly learning from it in some way, right? Whether or not you actually want to compete in competitive esports, right? Go to college for esports like Karlin did, or you just want to have fun with your friends every once in a while. There's a lot you can learn, and regardless of to the degree which you play. I think really just thinking about that is important.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Karlin, for joining us today. It's been super awesome having you guys here, and I think that one thing everyone can walk away with knowing is the fact that there is a community, that it's out there if you play games, that there's spaces to get involved, and that you don't have to feel so alone. So remember, play more games, and look forward to seeing you guys next time.